Hello and welcome to everyone to Turku's municipal election panel by DÅCTA, which is the doctoral student organization at Åbo Academy University. And my name is Ran Goyan, and I am a doctoral candidate in political science at Åbo Academy University and a board member of DÅCTA. And I'll be the host for this panel. And with us in the panel, there are also representatives of 6 different Turku parties. Originally, there were supposed to be 7, but unfortunately, Nico Kivimäki from the Christian Democrats has fallen ill today. So therefore, unfortunately, I wish him, of course, health. And we are standing on 6, which is, however, the 6th largest party in Turku Municipal Council, apart from the Finns party. Although it's important for me to mention that all parties that are running in these elections were invited several times to this panel. So these are the parties that are chosen to send a panelist. And for our panel, we made in advance a list of questions which all of our panelists would be invited to answer. The order in which the panelists would be invited to answer, as well as actually the order of the question from our list, will be drawn randomly. And each panelist is expected to give a short, precise answer to each question. Hopefully, no more than 3 minutes per answer. We will try to be strict, but within the limitations of logic. Overall, our pre-planned part of the panel is expected to last 1.5 hours, including a break of 5 minutes after the first 45 minutes, just for people to take a breather, and if they have an urgent need, that's the time to do that. And following the pre-planned question, there will be also questions from the crowd. Some of these questions I already got in advance, as I invited the crowd to send me, but some will be a question from the live audience, and you can send question using the QA function. And you can see, this is a meeting that is not a regular Zoom meeting, but a webinar. So the regular chat function should be off, and you should also not be worried about your video or sound to be on, because they are supposed to be off all the time. So now let's already start with the panel. And the first part for us, before even getting to the questions, is just the panelists introducing themselves. And as I said, the order of this or any other answer will be random, and I'll just draw it randomly using some nice function on the computer that will allow me to do a random draw. And the first panelist that will answer is Johan, that will present himself. Yes.
Okay, very nice. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I think I was the only Johan in the panel. So I'm coming to the Turku municipal election from the Swedish People's Party, and I can present myself shortly here. I'm 46 years old. I've been living 23 years in Finland. I'm originally from Sweden. I'm a father of 2 boys, 10 and 13, and I live in a registered relationship with my husband, Peter, so it's a rainbow family. I work at Åbo Academy, where I teach inorganic chemistry. I think maybe that's enough for a presentation, or would you like to have it longer?
I think that's enough. It's up to you. So our next person will be Janika.
Thank you, and hi to everyone. My name is Janika Takatalo, and I come from National Coalition Party, which is the biggest party in Turku at the moment, and has been actually for a very long time, and I hope, of course, that will be the largest also after the elections. I'm 29 years old and married, and I will have my first child actually in August. And I'm a doctoral student myself, also in political science in Turun yliopisto, but I also have a full-time job, so my doctoral studies are more like when I have time in weekends and evenings. I work in European Parliament to a MEP, but I'm based here in Turku, so I'm not living in Brussels. And yeah, I have also 2 dogs that I like to walk around Turku, and I'm already in city councillor, and I'm now seeking for the another 4 years to continue my work. Thank you.
Great, thank you, and I wish you well, of course, in the giving birth. And the next will be Nana.
Right, yes. So I'm Nana Blomqvist, and I'm bilingual. I'm from the Left Alliance, and I'm bilingual, I mean Finnish, Swedish is the languages I grew up with. I'm 38 years old, and I work basically part-time in a small NGO with a project called Boundary Transgressing Dialogue Culture, which is, well, I can't Google it. And then I've been working with different things, journalism, project managing, with equality work, and work with asylum seekers the past years, basically. But I also have a doctoral thesis waiting for being finished one day in comparative religion, but it's on hold right now because I'm engaging in so many other things. This to participate in a municipal election is one of these things, but actually a minor part at this point. And this is my second time I'm participating in the election and the municipal election, but yeah, let's see. Is there anything else you want to know?
I hope that the crowd will ask more questions when they have. Next panelist will be Erika.
Okay. Hello, my name is Erika, and I grew up in Sweden, although both of my parents are Finnish. Moved to Turku back in 2004, and since then I've lived mainly here, but also in Helsinki, Oslo, and Brazil. My background, my educational background, I have 2 bachelor's theses behind me. One is in performing arts in circus. I no longer work as a performer, though I used to back in the days when my body could still handle it. After 4 knee surgeries, I decided it's good to do something else as well. So I also have a bachelor in economics or business administration. I've worked a lot, both within the cultural field as a performer, but also as a producer. And I worked a lot in the startup ecosystem, both locally and nationally and internationally. And I'm a first-time candidate, so this is all very new to me.
Yes, great. So our next panelist will be Ilona.
Right. Hi, and thank you for inviting me. So my name is Ilona. I'm 42. I've spent half my life abroad. I did my BA, then my master's, and finally now my MBA abroad. I've been working for political institutions as well as some private ventures. I was working for the European Commission in Beijing for about 5 years, and then I went to Angola for my last station, and I was working for BP, oil and gas, after which I returned and decided that oil and gas is a big no-no, especially in developing countries. It's a curse. So I did my MBA on renewable energies in Berlin. This is my second time at the elections. I got a seat at the inspection board of the city, Turku, and that's been really interesting. It's kind of a window to the whole spectrum of what does the city do. Shocking, for sure. And that's another reason why I want to run again. There's a lot of fixing to do, one could say. Not that I have answers to all. And I'm also a new mom. I've got a 1-year-old at home. So there, that's me.
Congratulations, Ilona. And last but certainly not least is Ville.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Ville Kurtti, and I'm from the Social Democratic Party. I'm a 25-year-old master's student studying contemporary history at the University of Turku. But right now, actually, most of my time is working as the president of Social Democratic Students, and I'm actually here at our office, at the party office in Helsinki right now. This is my first time being a candidate, although I have been very active in the social democratic movement for 10 years now and done some election work in different elections for my friends and family, different people I know. Thank you very much for DÅCTA for having this panel, and I'm very excited to being able to be here and also talk about these very important things in English. Thank you.
Thank you, Ville. And there was already a question about this. So I said in introduction, but unfortunately, Nico from the Christian Democratic Party has fallen ill today, and he told me rather short time ago that he cannot attend. So unfortunately, we could not find a replacement from the party so quick. So we are who we are. And I apologize for anyone who wanted to hear him. Now I put myself on mute by mistake. But now we will go to actually to dip into the Turku politics mud. And it's actually, I drawn the questions, the order of the questions just before we started this panel. And the first question is very much deep into the Turku politics mud in a very literal way, I would say almost. So the first question will be that. It's about transportation, which is, the question is, currently there is a plan to build a tram network between the harbor, the market square, and a major suburb, Varisuu. Do you feel that the network should be expanded in the future, or are there other solutions that should be implemented instead of the tram? For example, wait, now the question has gone away. For example, or additionally to tram, for example, regional commuter trains or electric buses. And we will have, again, drawing randomly the answer, the panelists. So the first to answer is Ville.
Yes, thank you. This is a very big and important question. I'm a big supporter of the now still planned tramway. Of course, the decision hasn't been made, but I think it's very important that the next term we finally get the decision, and it's a positive decision that we have this tram, because I think it's very important for the development and growth of our public transportation, but also the entire city. I think that also this is a good place to begin the first network, but in the future I think we need even more, and the very natural places next to the now planned one are like Mäki, which is a very big area where people live, but also like outside Turku, like Raisio and Kaarina would be very natural, I think. I don't think that electric buses would be a way to have instead of the tram. I think electric buses are a good way of making our buses more green, but it isn't something that we can do instead of the tram, but with the tram. Also with the regional commuter trains, I think they're a very good idea, but also they won't be able to bring what the tram brings, but together they will be very good for the whole area, I think.
Okay, thank you, Ville. It seems that we had a very like a weird situation in which I assumed that there was also when we planned the date of the survey, the Pirate Party said that they would like to have a panelist, but they said that the date was not suitable for them. So I assumed that they are not participating, and they were not part of our emailing, but apparently the panelist has came here, and I deeply apologize for this misunderstanding, because I just assumed because they said that on the survey that they cannot come on that time, that they are not attending. But I would like them to let Sebastian Mäki from the Pirate Party to present himself. Sebastian, are you here? I don't know. Yes.
Hello.
Hello, and again, accept my apology for the misunderstanding.
Yeah, no problem. It all worked out. And so I'm Sebastian Mäki. I'm from Pori originally, and I've been I've been in startup companies, filling all sorts of roles, mainly as a software developer, later on as a systems architect, and I've been doing some systems work with Bitcoin and trying to get the e-receipt business launched. I've been the president of the Pirate Party of Southwest Finland for a few years. Now I'm the secretary, and I live in Ilpoinen, Turku. And I do some voluntary work for a school for the deaf in Ghana remotely.
Okay, is that the entire presentation?
So perhaps
Yeah.
Let it be.
Okay, so we will go back to actually to our question. I'll just remind you all of the question shortly. That the question was whether the plan of the current plan of the tram is suitable, should it be changed, should be expanded, should alternative measures of transportation be adopted? And the next person to answer the question would be Nana.
All right, thank you. It is a quite central question to the city planning right now, I would say, because it has been on the agenda or in the discussion for a long time. To be honest, I don't have a strong opinion whether or not, because I think things need to be taken in consideration. First, is the costs and the gain, are they reasonable? And are the options available covering the purpose for the tram? So for example, if the Superbussi or this other option would cover with less costs the same purpose, then, and it would be as ecological, it would develop the city the same way and such, then perhaps these options should be taken, should be the options that we rely on. On the other hand, if the tram is more cost efficient in a long term, then why not invest in that then? Because infrastructural development is always central to any city. And one thing that I would like to bring up, even if this is a tram question, to combine the public transportation with bikes would be important, whether it's a tram or bus or whatever. Ecological thinking and also health aspects. This is a very small town. About 90% of people in Turku lives within half an hour of biking distance. So also to be able to connect the public transportation, whether it's tram, bus or something else, and the bike, I think should be one of these aspects that should weigh in all the like infrastructural planning in general.
Thank you. And the next to answer is Janika.
Thank you. I support tram. I have been speaking for it in City Council this season and also in my group, because it's not something that everybody in my group supports, because we are also concerned about the economic situation, but there has been a lot of calculations about this investment, and it should pay for itself in a long run, because if we have like high buildings next to it, there will be more people living in Turku, more entrepreneurs and investments near the tram route. So it has been like studied that it will be some invest that will bring us also money back in the future. And in this season, we have been already deciding about the first route which is from Varissuo to Satama, as you told, and I hope in the future also Kaarina and Raisio will join us, but it's up to them, of course. In Turku, we only decide about the Turku routes, and also we have been deciding that the tram is the thing to be chosen. There was a step before when these super buses were discussed about, but they are now left behind, and I hope that candidates will not support to go back again, because we have already been investing a lot of money for planning this tram, and it has been shown to be the best kind of investment. So just I hope that we will now move on with tram plan, and that I will and you all will get in tram in this decade before the next decade. Thank you.
Yes, so Ilona will be the next one.
Hi, thank you. Well, I am opposing the tram. I think what Nana said was spot on, that you need to look at the transportation as a whole, and biking should have a more priority in it right now. Our biking roads are left half done, to be honest. I would prefer to see the regional commuter trains. I mean, we already have the lines. We could maybe fix them a little bit, make them into electric, and start working with those. And then there's the topic of the budget. There is no budget yet. For instance, if you speak to Turku Energy, they said that no one has even come to them to ask about the cost of opening the road, removing the existing infra and putting it on the other side, because that's where the tram lines would come, on the other side. So there are so many holes in the whole budgeting business that it doesn't provide confidence. I mean, to the normal pedestrian or bus user or whatnot. You're listening to these, they seem a little bit up in the air. So I think there should be, like, we spend a lot of money on planning, but there's no proper plans. And if you think of Turku city, you look at it on the map, it's not like Tampere, where the tram line kind of, goes from one end of the city to the other end through the center, and that makes sense. But Turku is scattered all around, and it's a growing city, so you can't really nail yourself down with a tram. I think buses or super buses or whatnot, electric things, would be far more feasible. And of course, then there's the whole point that, a lot of people are talking that it's more or less a real estate deal. Once the tram line has been decided to go somewhere, then the parks will be great real estate to build buildings in. And what we really want is more greenery, green areas still to remain in Turku. That's me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So last two, first Johan, then Erika, and last Sebastian. And from the next round, Sebastian will be entering the random draw. Yeah, so first Johan.
Okay, thank you, Ran. I come from a city in Sweden that still has a working tram network, and I love taking the tram. This said, I still don't think that Turku at this stage should invest in a tram system. I'm more on the line with Ilona and Nana, and I think Nana had a very good point in saying that you need to look at the system as a whole and also include bicycles, for instance. I think the city should make an agreement with VR and the neighboring cities to start a local train system, just like Ilona suggested as well. There is already tracks going from Varissuo via the city center and to the harbor, which is the route planned for the tram. And we don't need new ones when we can use the old ones and add new rail to these if needed. Turku should instead develop a fast lane system for public transport. Public transport should be prioritized before private car traffic in terms of street lights and right of way. And the public transport system should be faster, cheaper, and more convenient way of travel to all citizens compared to private cars. By that, we make people choose the public transport system. Thank you.
Erika, you
I'll
can go on.
continue. I agree with a lot that has already been said, both on the yay and the nay side of things. Personally, I am pro trams, but I agree with Ilona and Nana who talked about this, the budgeting issue, that you have to look at the big picture. Though I'm not sure if at this stage, if it's even possible to do a complete budget where you take into account all the things that will happen or might happen, because you have known unknowns and you have unknown unknowns. So it's always a tricky thing, this planning issue. I'm also pro the local or regional train. I think these two could complement each other very well. I don't think they serve the same purpose. I also think tram lines are excellent because they are more permanent than the bus lines. So that means that it's an indicator for entrepreneurs, for instance, on where to invest in your own business or where to set up your own shop. And I think that's a very important thing if you think about city development as the city is growing. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yes, and now Sebastian.
I agree with Erika that permanence is a very important known in this scenario, and therefore bringing entrepreneurs into the hubs, which the tram line may then create, should create some stability instead of going with buses and unpredictability and impermanence, which then, I think we've been going so much, back and forth, whether it's going to be a tram or train or, bus or whatever, that I don't think that this going back and forth is being productive. And we need to be productive, and we need to be able to predict that we can be productive. So that's why the tram and train system would be my preference.
Great, thank you very much for your answers. We will actually, because you already so well refer to each other, so we will already go immediately to the next question, which is on a very different topic. The question is, it has been actually debated in the English media, in the English-Finnish media quite much. The question is, what can, or I would say also, whether should the city do something, in your view, to prevent social exclusion and discrimination in regard to gender and or ethnicity, for example, in different institutions, such as workplaces or schools or universities? Everyone understood the question? Yes, so we will start. And the first person to answer this question would be Janika.
Okay, so you asked about gender equality in
gender and ethnicity, and whether the city should, and what should the city do to prevent social exclusion and discrimination based on these in, for example, workplaces, schools, and universities.
Yes, okay, thanks. I was just making sure. First of all is, of course, the question of what the city of Turku will do in its own institutions, its own requirement when recruiting people. For instance, you can have anonymously process for selecting people to work in Turku, so that you can see so easily what is the gender of the people, or if they have a name that is not the most typical Finnish name, or something that could prevent them from being taking the job. But of course, there's a lot of other workplaces in Turku than just the public places, for example, different organizations and private places. That is a harder question, but Turku can show example in being more equal in its own processes. And also if Turku is giving money for organizations, for example, they can then require that those organizations are building a society that is more equal. Also, this season in City Council, we made a plan to prevent social exclusion in Turku, and that has been very important for me also because I'm the leader of the youth board in Turku, and the social exclusion is a very big question among young people because no one should be left behind when they are still young and they could have all the opportunities in front of them. And things that we are doing in this new program is that we are developing the city more equal so that no area is left behind another. And also, well, it's a very long program, so I hope you will all maybe check it, and maybe I will also left something to say to other candidates, but it's really good program and we are now starting it, and I'm really happy about it, and I hope it will help to prevent social exclusion and inequality in Turku. Thanks.
Thank you. So next will be Johan. Johan, you are muted.
Now I'm unmuted. I hope you can hear me. Good. Yeah, I think Turku can do a lot of things, starting, of course, in the schools, because we, as politicians, we are the one who decide the curriculum of the schools in Turku, and here inclusiveness and avoiding social exclusion and discrimination is one major point. So the politicians need to have a good eye on these things when making decisions for the Turku schools. And I represent the Swedish People's Party. Swedish-speaking people are minority in Finland, so I know very well how solutions that works for the majority might not always work for the minorities. Also, as a gay father, I think that there are many ways in society constructed to work for families with one mother and one father, even though we know that these are not the cases. So I think we should focus on inclusiveness. We need to have systems that work for the majority, but we need to think how this also can be often just a little adjusted also to work for the minorities. And if you count in all minorities in Finland, because there are so many different minorities, we almost make up the majority of the society. So I think there's a way forward just to let everybody have a voice in this and to explain where the problem is, and we can create together a good society for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Johan. And Sebastian, you are up next.
Well, minorities and making the voice of the unheard has always been the one defining characteristic of the Pirate Party, and open speech and participating in the decision making and discussions of our city councils and the parliament, those kinds of things have been important for us and for me as well. I was in a group of people once who decided that we need to start filming and recording the sessions for the Turku City Council, so that even the people who can't access these spaces otherwise for any reason could participate in them. And about I think in many cases where we have minorities or neurodivergent people with different kind of theories of mind and histories, backgrounds, we need to make sure that people who are listening to them are properly educated in active empathy, and the teams who are responsible for being in the human interface, so to say, they should have a diverse team there, which can then help each other understand situations where our understanding may be limited, and we have things to learn.
Thank you. And as I said in the chat, next will be Nana.
All right. Well, this is a huge question because there's so many problems, like segments of problems, which means there's a lot of different solutions that would be required. A lot of good things have already been said. There has been words like inclusiveness, for example, which could be like one starting point in the sense that first, oh my God, this is such a big question. Well, the basics. The economy has to be planned the way that it actually is inclusive in the basic structures. So we can't work for equality ideologically if we at the same time create a society that is economically unequal, because that's just paradoxical and it's not honest. So this means that the social exclusion that also, we can talk about identity-based social exclusion, but also back to this economic question that if you don't have a fair chance in life from the start just because of economic reasons, you will never be equal to a large portion of people. Another thing, and if you take this to a municipal level, for example, one thing that could counteract segregation when it comes to how populations are concentrated in certain areas is that there would be more public real estate that could be controlled by the public sector, not the private sector, so that the renting and all that kind of stuff is not in the control of only private investors and people. That would counteract the segregation, at least be one of those things, which would give more platform to a natural dialogue between people, so that not one ethnicity is one place, another ethnicity another place, because then people would interact more in normally and naturally. And this kind of organic dialogue would only by that already sort of be better facilitated. Then when it comes to certain institutions like workplaces, schools, and such, rules is one thing. To have rules that everyone are supposed to sort of respect. For example, that we don't call people names that are derogatory based on their identity. For example, that this could be one simple rule, and if somebody does that, then okay, then we have a discussion. Okay, this is not okay, and why, and so that it will be an educational sort of thing at the same time. But rules is one thing within institutions.
Nana, just time. Just remember the time.
Okay, sorry. Was it over?
Technically 3 minutes now are over.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
There was me.
Yeah. And then the next one was Erika.
Yeah, like Nana said, this is such a huge question that there are so many different aspects to it. I will focus mainly, I guess, on people with different nationalities moving into Turku, but a lot of the things that I think about there, I think applies to other minority groups as well. First of all, I think it comes down to community and it comes down to inclusion. And one of the key aspects in this is language. Like, you have to learn the language to be able to properly integrate into a society. And in order to learn the language, I think there's a lot of things that the city can do. And I'm not talking about just offering these courses, language courses. I mean, that's the obvious one. But I think if you only try to learn a language in a school setting, you don't learn to use the language. You might learn structures and grammar and things like this, but in order to actually learn to use it, you need kind of safe social environments where you can interact with people who already speak the language, for instance, Finns, where you have a chance to practice it. And in this, I think the city can collaborate a lot with different associations, whether it be like culture, arts, sports, whatever, because you already have these communities. And if you have an interest and you find people who share that interest, you will find a common language, and that becomes your safe space to kind of work on your language. And at the same time, you're building your own network, because that's another thing that for sure you're going to need. Like, even if we're talking about getting a job, if we're talking about what is the best place to buy carpets, I don't know, whatever, you always ask your network first. So the larger your network, the better. I love what it was Sebastian who mentioned, empathy, which I think is something that we need to practice a lot more, not only in politics, but in any interaction between each other, between people. And because there is already a lot of associations, for instance, for different nationalities, I think we can improve by working more together with these, because they already are reaching the people like who are here. That was kind of messy, but I hope you get my idea. And the final point, if we're talking about any kind of integration is always like a two-sided process. You can't have one group of people and one group kind of trying to integrate. Like, it has to go both ways. So we need to work on that also, to figure out what can we do not only for the minorities or for people who are new in Turku, but how can we create platforms and places and spaces where people who are already here and people who are new, or people from different minorities or people from minorities and majorities, can meet and interact on an equal level. Thanks.
Erika, you managed to get exactly on the second of three minutes. So Ville and Ilona, and then after that we will have, okay, let's start with Ville and Ilona, and then after that we will see.
Yes, as everyone has already, a lot of people have already said, this is a very big and multifaceted thing, and a lot of good things have already been said, like Janika said about the anonymous recruiting taken in city recruiting. That's a very good concrete way we can make sure that there is less discrimination there, and also show that to companies, just like Janika said, that you can do it also. And Johan said very well about schooling. I think school and education has a very big part here, like education of city employees on how to deal with these kinds of things in their work environment, but also with customers and with city residents. But also in schools with children and young people, I think all children must be taught from an early age to how to treat everyone equally as individuals, but also to notice and combat these old stereotypes and prejudices that we all at some level still have. Also, like there are ways that we can make sure that like gender and sexual minorities are better taken into account, like having gender neutral bathrooms and spaces in public buildings and public spaces. I think that's very important, so that they're inviting and safe for everyone, including trans people. And then Sebastian said very well about representation and listening to different groups. I think it's very important that different kinds of people and groups are represented in decision making and listen to if they don't have representatives already in council and such. But then again, when it comes to social exclusion, which was also mentioned in the question, I think mental health and support and services for especially for the youth is very important when it comes to combating social exclusion, making sure that everyone is feeling well, everyone gets the help they need when they need it. But yeah, I think that's a lot of good things that have already been said. Also, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so Ilona can continue.
All right, thank you. I guess I'll just be repeating what everybody else said. Well, let me start off with saying the importance of open policy making. I mean, we really need to hear all different ethnic groups and minorities in the policy making so we can get somewhere and understand what are the actual issues to be tackling with. Now, I think the goals should be quite clear. There's preventing, there's reintegrating, and then there's the basic minimum standards for everyone. This is what Nana was talking about, the healthcare, education, income, wage gaps, everything. That should be basic for everyone. These are super important issues for the government to take care of, or the city, or even just any company you're working in. And there should be more focus on outcomes with maybe clear measurable targets. That's a difficult one, of course. But instead of having programs for 2 years or whatnot to tackle these things, we need to think, a little bit more larger scale. We need to, it needs to be, we need to make set policies and run with it. We're not doing a 2-year, 5-year programs. That's nonsense. I mean, we're talking about people's lives. We're talking about how our children are growing up, how our whole society is going to be looking at. I mean, yeah, larger lens on everything, and inclusion and everybody in to the policy making. Sounds messy, but you do need to get everyone's input in order to, and everything needs to be a little bit more transparent, especially in this city, my opinion. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ilona. Originally, we talked about a break at 45, but because we managed not a lot of questions, and I feel that we are still in the spirit of people are relatively fresh, we decided that we will at least take another question, and we will see, maybe then a break will come. If that's okay for everyone, I hope it is. The next question will be on a topic that is relevant for all of us, for sure, which is the healthcare. And the question is as such. The need for psychiatric aid has been increasing over a longer time, particularly now in regards to young people and the pandemic. Currently, there is a plan to employ more mental health workers in higher and lower school classes as a response to this situation. Is such a solution enough, or could more be done to handle the growing need for mental aid? And of course, you can refer to this question in regards to schools, but also in general in terms of mental aid for the Turku residents. Yes. So this was again drawn randomly, and in the random draw, the person that will answer first will be Ville.
Yes, thank you. This is an extremely important question, and working in the student movement, this is what we've been talking for such a long time, that especially students and young people, mental health has been deteriorating the past years, and this corona pandemic and corona time has basically made it into a crisis of mental health. I think this employing more mental health workers in schools, in higher and lower classes, that's really important and needs to be done. And it's really important that the government is now bringing legislation to make a mandatory minimum of how much these school psychologists do need to have per students, the amount of students, but also I think we need it also for universities. Also in schools, it's really important to teach students how to take care of their own mental health and how to seek help. It's really important that health is easily everyone gets help easily when they need it and they know where to look for it. In Finnish, we call this the matalan kynnyksen palvelut. Not really sure what the term would be in English. But we also need better mental health services in general. I think we need immediate access to mental health services, called terapiatakuu in Finnish, so that everyone gets help as fast as possible, and so that the problems don't become bigger time when it comes just worse for the individual, but also for society, and will end up costing even more. Also, it's very important that every child and young person, even those outside schooling, is met with every year and seen how they're doing, so we can see if there are some developing some problems, if they need help, which is why I think it's important that SDP has nationally suggested that we extend all these neuvola services to throughout in the entire childhood and youth, so that the families and young people get the help when they need it. And yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ville. And the next one will be Ilona.
All right, thank you. I had no idea that SDP had planned that neuvola institution should be until you're 18. That is like the biggest gap I see. You have your what do you call it, your markups, milestones, whatnot. You meet with your neuvola until you go to school, and then from school, age 7 to 18, there's no communication between the child's welfare within the school and the parent. And then the next one you call is child custody. I mean, there should be a few steps in between. I'm laughing, but not really. That's such a serious question. And I think that's something that we should tackle. How can we, or the city of Turku, how can they help parents help their children? I mean, children are not sick just like this. They don't have mental health problems. It derives from somewhere, and it derives from the family. There's something not quite right. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of things going on probably with the family. And why can we not help the parents before a situation is so dire that it becomes a child custody issue? Also, when it comes to, I think you wrote down in your question that there's going to be more healthcare services, staff members to schools. In Turku, I believe it's going to be maybe 1 or 2, but they'll still be rotating from school to school. So you don't even have proper stand-in staff member at your school. And then there's the issue of children going to school, talking to a curator or a psychiatrist. They do not, because of these privacy issues, they cannot talk to the teachers or the parents, and the communication in between is missing completely. So you have a child who might be acting up at home and then in school and then talking to a psychiatrist. Nobody is talking to each other, and where's the help? I think that's one of the biggest problems. And I think that is like extending the neuvola services would be probably a really good help for parents. I would probably stand for that. Thank you.
Yes, and next, Erika.
Yeah, congrats, Ville and SDP. That's a really, really nice idea to extend the neuvola services. I absolutely support that. On the level that I think we can all agree on is that whenever you need care, you should be able to get care. How to get there, I'm sure there are many different ways of getting there, but personally, I would like to see the main effort be at the kind of preventive stage, so that we take care of people before they develop any problems that are more serious, and extending the neuvola services to 18 is probably an excellent way to do that. Of course, mental health issues affect all ages, not only young people and children. And if we're looking at like young adults and adults, I think we should also make use of new technology that is coming out. There's good evidence on different apps like that has kind of CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy in an app form, where you interact with a therapist over your mobile phone. Obviously, this doesn't work if you have a severe case of depression, but if you have a lighter case, or like, I can honestly say I would have needed it during this pandemic, you know, working at home and just your life being so much narrower than you're used to. So I definitely think anything that we can do to prevent issues and make use of technology that is emerging and already existing, because it's also much more cost effective. Yeah, I think those are my main points. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So the next one will be Sebastian.
Thank you. So I thought the idea to extend the Neuvola service is great because as in, like, you know, process developer perspective, I'd, you know, say that a process owner is a necessity for any process to be developed, and the process from childhood to adulthood is the, well, we all know it's the most critical one. But regarding the kind of therapy that we usually talk about, I think one of the main goals should, of course, be preventing mental health issues, but also accepting that they will happen, you know, no matter what we try to do. So the goal of trying to make people who go through mental health challenges, I think these people should be further educated, and more resources should be put into more further educating these people so that they can themselves then be able to teach those skills, you know, to other people, and to adopt the habit of teaching these skills.
Good. I think it was my turn next. Thanks. Well, it's really important question, and although we are talking about municipal election themes, I think this is also something you can talk about without saying something about the state level, because the therapy guarantee was mentioned. I think Ville said it first, and I also supported it. And this means that access to treatment should not take more than 2 weeks. It's really good example of something that we should get going in the whole state. Actually, the parties in government right now, such as the Greens and Left, promised this before the parliamentary elections, but it's really sad that nothing has happened yet, although there was the citizens initiative that collected a lot of signatures, and we all know that there is a huge need for that therapy guarantee. So I'm really hoping that those parties that are now in government will do something, because it's not a solution that every city will make a decision for themselves, because not every city has enough resources or money to do that. So it should be done on state level. The other question is that we don't have enough psychotherapists, and the education for them is really expensive right now. It costs like tens of thousands of euros to have this training to become a psychotherapist, and that means that not everyone has possibility to go through that training. So I think we should make it cheaper or even free to get more therapists in this country and city. And if I say last something also about the municipal level, then I would say that for young people, example, hobbies are really important to maintain their mental health, to get friends. It's really studied that it will help them in the long run. Of course, the support for families. Neuvola was mentioned many times, and if it is not still clear to someone what it means, it's the maternity clinic and later the child care clinic. I disagree a bit, because we should be quite careful when taking all the teenagers also to that same system, because it's now already been burdened a lot. There are not enough like time for for child to go there. So if there is more child coming to that system, it would need a lot of new resources. So I still think it's good that teenagers are helped in school system, and there are some professional workers helping young people, maybe not in maternity clinic for them. But these are my opinions on this case. Thanks.
Yes, great. So next, Johan.
Yes, thank you. I think the mental health issue is the real pandemic of our century, and I agree with the speakers saying that we need to work preventively with these issues. It's mostly regarding young people, but also older people in this country have these mental health issues. As a father from my 2 boys, I know that without the restrictions set by us parents, they would be on their screens always. I can also see how this leads to mental tiredness and fatigue. And together with the lack of exercise and other stimulation, and for some children, also the lack of human discussion and interaction, this is very bad for the mental health. I think parallel to acute care of mental illness, we need to think out a strategy of how to engage our young citizens in activities for outdoor experiences, exercise and teamwork. Everybody needs to be seen and to be needed, having a role in life. And I would suggest that we need a new set of youth workers in Finland in order to deal with this. That would be my suggestion. And I also like very much Ilona's suggestion to prolong the neuvola service for families in Finland. Thank you.
So last, Nana.
Thank you. I had to go in because the battery was running out. Yes, again, a big question and a lot of very wise things has been said, and like those things that I would like to grasp or to pick up on, that a secure childhood is one of the keys to a good adulthood and a balanced and strong resilience. And this has been touched upon before, and there's different solutions. Neuvola was one that was, and this new set of youth workers sounded actually like on the line where I would be like that we should kind of maybe think about the lifestyle that are making us sick, that we need to kind of maybe reconsider where does all this unhealth come from, that is there things that we could do to change our lifestyle so that we have sounder generations to grow up and to make the connection between generations stronger in general, whether it fits through youth work like that, and whether it's the parents and children, but the adult generations and the younger generations, to make a stronger and better connection between these generations. And there can be different, the youth work, the new set of youth work would be one way maybe. Extended neuvolapalvelut would be one maybe. I guess the psychologist in the school, as the point is a little bit to give an extra resource of a secure adult there, but is it really, if it's like a person who goes around quickly from one school to another, it's not gonna be that secure adult that is missing kind of. So we should maybe reconsider like our lifestyle, and of course when things has already gone to the point where the mental health has suffered, then it's already therapy. I mean, then we are doing therapeutic work, not I mean, so-called korjaavaa työtä. And then it's already kind of, it's not too late, but then we have already failed somewhere. And we have to identify where we have failed in order to be able to change how do we live wrong, because we are living wrong somehow, because otherwise we wouldn't be this, sorry my French, fucked up.
Yes, great. So that was actually the good timing. We will take now 5 minutes break for everyone to take a breather. We will be back at least according to my clock, it's right now 6 and 6 minutes. So we'll be back at 6 and 11 minutes. After we are back, a question about direct democracy. So stay tuned for what about direct participation in this city? All right, I think 5 minutes has passed, which is, I hope that anyone managed to get whatever they need to get. And we will back to the game. And the next question, as I said, now we deal with a topic that is a bit of a direct democracy question. So I hope that everyone are back and can hear me. Yes, yeah, good. So the question is, in recent years, the city of Turku has implemented few participatory democracy projects, including participatory budgeting and public deliberation forums, which are basically some kind of ways in which the citizens can influence directly or can be part directly, ordinary citizens can be part directly from the political decision making. However, the academic researchers, which actually were hired by Turku to execute this deliberation forum, and have concluded in their report that these participatory activities should be more institutionalized and more regularly applied in the city governance. Do you think there is a place for more direct participation in governance by the citizens of the city of Turku instead of governance by city councillors like you aspire to be? If so, do you have in mind ways direct participation can be expanded? And we will randomly draw the answer, and the first person to answer will be Johan.
Okay, thank you, Ran. I think the current system we have in Finland is actually very good. Saying that, it does not mean it cannot be improved. And there are many ways to involve people in our society and in the decision making. I'm not familiar with the ones you suggest here, participatory budgeting and public deliberation forums, and I would actually like to hear more about those. As a chemical engineer, I haven't studied these issues or ways of interacting, but as a teacher, I'm very interested in inclusive discussions and when you have a seminar or something to make it easy for everyone to contribute to the discussion, and I think this is something we should also take into our decision making in the future. I think it's a good way forward also to let it happen what we discussed here earlier with different minorities needing to express their needs in order to feel included. Thank you.
So next will be Erika.
Okay. I'm a little bit with Johan on this one, that I'm also not too familiar with what has already been done in Turku. What I've seen at some instances is that on the city website, you can go and comment on different development projects and such. Other than that, I have no idea what is actually being done. So I would suggest or hope that moving forward, these direct democracy things, that there would be more collaboration. I'm always talking about collaboration, but that there would be more collaboration with different associations, because if the city relies only on its own channels to reach people, I think that's kind of, setting the bar quite low, and that's kind of lazy, because I don't think it's realistic to expect that all citizens regularly visit the city website outside of Corona times. It's to me, it's just not realistic. So then if you have associations that are interacting with different groups of people on a regular basis, it makes sense to use them, to go through them and do these, like, whatever development workshops or whatever it is that you want to do it through them. That's all I have to say.
Yes, great. And our next one was Janika.
Nice, thanks for letting me speak now, because I'm so excited about the participatory budgeting, and it was introduced in Turku because of my party, so maybe I can give a little short introduction to it. So first of all, we actually tried it with the youth, and in those youth places, young people in schools could decide for a small budget for those youth places, like what they want to buy, for example, a billiard board or something, or go to a trip or something. And that was also a practice for democracy for them, because it was like a real voting. They had all the same systems that we are now having in real elections. And because we had such a great feedback from that, we then started it as a for adults in the whole city level, and also teenagers can now vote, and it's quite big money now that has been decided straight by the people, and it has been shared between the different areas of Finland, so between the different areas of Turku, I mean. So the money will be distributed more equally now. And there has been many great things that people have been now able to put in their area, like some new sports equipment or something like that. So I think it's a really good thing to have in Turku now, and we need to make it more permanent. It has now been only once or twice for the whole city. So I hope we are gonna continue on that. And when it comes to the other forms of democracy, I think that the real responsibility lies with the decision makers in municipal elected boards, and the representative democracy is the most effective way to make big decisions together. So I would not give on that and stop it and only let people straight to decide. But I think we need to try these new ways, and also ask always for feedback and really listen to it. And that way people are more participating in democracy, not only by voting, but with other ways too. So I think we need both of them, new democracy ways, but also the traditional voting and representative democracy. Thanks.
Thank you, Janika. And just maybe I need to do a full disclosure here that the organization, like the University Institute that made these deliberative forums with the city of Turku is actually where I am personally working. So I'm not completely neutral in there. This is, they done it together with some Forskit Åbo Academy, which is my employer. So yes. Yeah, the next to answer will be Ville.
Yes, I also think that it's important that resident citizens in Turku have ways to influence decision making and make their voices heard even between elections. I mean, 4 years is quite a long time to have no say, and it's important that we have ways that between these elections people can also influence the decision making. And I think the participatory budgeting and these deliberative forums are good examples of how it can be done. More ways, it's good to have always more democracy innovations, how we can do it. But with all these, it's really important that everyone knows about these, that everyone is able to participate. And it's also a question of language. We're now speaking here in English. It's important that also people who don't necessarily speak Finnish or Swedish can also participate or in all these things, because there's still people living here even though they don't speak the majority languages. I also think that, like it was said here before, that it's really important to take associations also with this. They already do a lot of influencing work, and they have a lot of people they can reach. It's really important to work with these different associations and groups to get people to have more influence. And especially like local communities, I think it's really important that we get local communities and different kinds of people in different areas in Turku to work together and discuss these important issues and how they could better how they could make better their own living environment and the area they're living in, how they could do it together, also bring this more kind of idea of community and being together in this same area, and people meeting all different kinds of people. I think it's very important.
Sebastian, you're up next.
Thank you. I've had some work to do on being a bit more humble about this direct democracy thing. It hasn't been that many years since I've been on this tent outside the library in the Occupy movement, you know, with the people, you know, all over who were like, you know, feeling that things need to change and we aren't, you know, being heard. But since then we all participate in this public discussion, and one of the greatest threats to participatory democracy I see today is the people are not getting honest feedback from their politicians, and there's a lot of opportunity to improve different kind of fact checking. That even, you know, Twitter has announced now that they're going to be measuring the truthfulness of people's tweets. So it might be a bit difficult way, but in some way we need to measure the credibility of the people who are trying to participate in that subject, about that subject, and we need to be able to like develop and extract the meaningful data about even the loudest shouts. So, you know, I think there are a lot of problems that need to be looked at from the, you know, side who's trying to please the people. Yeah, that needs more focus.
Okay, great. So maybe the next one will be Nana.
All right, now my internet was a little bit unstable, so I missed part of the question, but I tried to answer the right question. Direct democracy. The inclusive budgeting was actually an interesting idea that I think was very practical. I mean, very concrete and practical way to do it, to one instance of doing that. I found that a good idea. Then how to extend these kind of things without getting lost in eternal processes that then doesn't lead anywhere. Then I think that needs to be thought on thoroughly. But I mean, there can always be ways and to arrange platforms where the people can give their evaluation and opinion about certain matters. For sure, it wouldn't require a lot of engineering, if we put it this way. But definitely I am for increasing direct democracy as long as it's engineered well also, of course. So for example, the inclusive budgeting, very clear. This budget for these city parts, send in your suggestions, very clear and good. And then they were implemented, those suggestions that worked. Then unfortunately about the Toriparkki, there was no such process. There could have been a process about more direct democracy there, definitely, because it affects all of our everyday life, with like how the city is constructed, especially like the nuclear center. Now I lost track of my time. I don't know how much time I have, but maybe shortly, I am for increasing direct democracy, but engineered well also.
Yes. So Ilona will be the last.
Thank you. Right, so we all vote and elect our decision makers, our council members for us. However, you know, there's 2 to 3 big parties that really run everything in a city this size, and the rest follow up, take out suit. So I would be for a little bit more of a direct democracy, but however, there are risks, like Sebastian mentioned. So good engineering, or like I would like to know a little bit more about the channels. Like I've never heard of this forum before, but maybe that was a niche market to the academic world and didn't reach all. But at the same time, I would like to emphasize that open policymaking is super important. Transparency in everything. This city and the councils notoriously have been, you know, like there's a lot of things nobody knows. There's only a certain select, there's closed door meetings, like Toriparkki. That was closed doors. Those papers are marked with an X and you get to open them in 25 years. And you know, like, transparency, that's what we need. That's what everybody wants. That's me.
Great. Technically, we have loads of questions, but I would like to take, because we said principally that we're at 6:30, we'll take questions from the crowd. I would like to take now questions from the crowd, if that's okay for everyone. And I'll just actually start from the end, because I think that one issue of Finnish politics, and certainly on the local level, is that often things sound too harmonious, like people too much agree with each other. So my question will be that I will take Ilona's question, which is to understand the differences between the parties. I would like to ask the question, what differentiates their party from all others, and what they think that their unique contribution to municipal politics, somehow to sharpen the differences between you all. So the start will be with Nana.
What a horrible responsibility to carry. To be honest, I am not the best candidate to answer this question for my party, because we have
never admit to that.
We have differences within the party, and my career in the party is not as long as some others. But I would say at least one very basic question for the Left Alliance is the economic equality. That doesn't mean communism, as some people out there want to label us. That definitely doesn't mean communism, but to have policy making that, rather than increase the class differences, decrease them and decrease segregation, and to have a tax system, for example, that doesn't make it possible to evade taxes, so that it wouldn't concentrate the capital. So this is one of these very important questions that definitely at least differs us from the more right-wing parties, or the party at least. And then if we consider equality on this more identity politics, and this, where we also want equality for people, that people are supposed to be treated well and equal, regardless of their gender, sexuality, skin color, religion, all these things, origin, country of origin, whatever. That there's no, that there shouldn't be any legitimization for discrimination. This is one thing that we are very clear on. What else differs us from all other parties? Yeah, well, it's unfair that I had to answer this question first, because I didn't have time to think about it. But definitely that we are more try to make the societal development more equal on all levels, but which doesn't mean we are communists.
Okay, great. The next will be Ilona, and I would just again emphasize that people were always drawn randomly, so nothing to tackle you, Nana, with a question without preparation. Yes, but Ilona will be next.
All right, thank you. As the name suggests, center, we are trying to be a little bit in the center of everything. I think one of the main points would be that if you are capable, if you want to, through work, you should be able to earn a living and make, if you work hard, you should be able to make it and be comfortable. However, if you are incapable, the government and the state and our municipality should help you. We're talking about maybe disabled, elderly, unemployed, who needs help should be able to get the help. But at the same time, if you want to, if you are capable and you have the desire, you need to be able to work. And right, that's one. And I think what we are running for right now, especially in the city, is really the transparency of everything. And instead of having a big of a hierarchy in, let's say, the healthcare services, obviously you need a hierarchy in companies and whatnot, but it should be a little bit more lateral. You need to talk to people. You need to give responsibilities, and with responsibility comes you need to I think I'm losing words here. Well, you need to respect, you grow when you get more responsibility, and I think that's what we need in the decision making of this whole city, for instance. I think probably those are the two main points I want to differentiate here from. Thank you.
Great. So Sebastian will be next.
So the Pirate Party differs from other parties mainly from well, in my opinion, we do not like intellectual dishonesty, and we are open to feeling shame if we are ever found doing so. But mainly our focus has been freedom of speech, human rights, equality, and decision making that relies on facts, not some fabricated, distorted version of whatever someone agreed on with a dice. So we want to develop the information systems in a way that protects the citizens, but at the same time also refine the needed information to really reach everyone, and to find solutions that can provide a platform for a future that is possible.
Great. So Erika will be next.
Yeah, this is a fun question. To be honest with you guys, for the longest time, I swore never to get into politics. My family background is for generations Social Democratic Party. Most of my friends, I think, vote for Kokoomus. And for some reason, I decided anyway to go into politics, and I chose the Green Party. And within the Green Party, I'm also a member of Ville, which is the Greens for Science and Technology. And the reason I chose this is because there are opinions within each party today, especially the ones represented here, that I strongly agree with. But I want, the foundation of everything has to be that we take care of the planet, because if we don't take care of the planet, nothing else really matters anymore. So I want to have the sustainability as the foundation for all the different aspects of politics, whether we're talking about health or education or economy or whatever. The foundation should be sustainability, and on top of that, science and technology, so based on fact.
Great. So next will be Ville.
Yeah, I think maybe what makes my own party, the Social Democratic Party, the most unique and different, that no other party has such a long history in building this welfare state and improving the welfare state. There's still a lot to do. I mean, some people might see that history as a negative, but I choose to see it as a very positive thing, that we have achieved a lot and we have still a lot more to do. I would also, a lot of what Nana said about this economic aspect. Also, we are very much for economic equality. We think that public services need more investment and should be mainly stay public. That's what differentiates us from the right also. And I think also SDP has a very long and good track record of cooperating on different kinds of issues with different parties to achieve good common goals and to get things done. And also lately in our party, we have started building, especially on the national level, but also in local level, we started building all our policies and our programs based on economic, social, and ecological sustainability and sustainable development, which is now more and more in the very core of all our policies, which I think is important. And locally also, I have to add that a vote for SDP, any candidate in SDP list, is also a vote for an excellent candidate for mayor. Aki Lindén has such great experience, especially when it comes to public services and healthcare. And I think even though with SOTE coming, I think we still need an expert on health issues to lead our city to make our public services even better.
Thank you. And yes, Johan and Janika will be ending this question.
Yes, thank you. I think it's really fascinating sitting in a panel like this. It's actually my first time, even though I've been in the last election also. Fascinating in that sense that you're such a bunch of nice and wise people, and I would actually like that all of you get into to the council so we can make some change. Saying that, I have chosen the Swedish People's Party because I'm liberal, and it's the only party. It's a people's party, meaning that it's founded and have been working for the Swedish-speaking minority ever since it was founded over 100 years ago, and look at how it actually made Finland into a very fantastic place for people who speaks Swedish, and I came here as an immigrant 23 years ago and couldn't believe my eyes that I could work and live here in my mother tongue, and I'm so impressed, and I would say that that our party in that sense really also works for other minorities in Finland, also the Lappish people, for instance, and I would also like to include all other minorities in this work and making a better Finland. So vote for us.
Good. And lastly, my party, National Coalition Party. I joined it when I was in high school as soon as I could, because when you are 15 in Finland, you can join party. I didn't have a political background in my family, but I was just very interested in doing things for the society. And I come from entrepreneurs family, and National Coalition Party was quite something that was close to that ideology that we need to take care of the economic, we need to take care of the jobs, we want that hardworking people in this society are I mean, it's something that okay, I will start again because I lost my words, but I think we are standing for like no more taxation and economically we are more on the right, but not on the far right. We belong to conservative family in European politics, but don't think that it means that we are conservatives here in Turku or Finland, in a sense that, for example, we are supporting gay marriages and things like that. It means more like economically on the right side when I say conservatives. And if you think Turku is a good place to live, then I think you should continue supporting us, because already the mayor of Turku, Minna Arve, is our candidate to continue as the mayor of Turku. And so you will not get a big change by voting for us, but I don't think you need a big change, because Turku is already a great place. And of course we are improving some small things, but generally I think National Coalition Party is something you can trust, and you can trust that your money is going to be taken good care of and not wasted on everything. But okay, that was my answer. Thanks.
I have to say that I feel that there will have been like facial reactions. So I feel like if anyone wants to actually, I like dialogue. I'm a person. So if anyone feel like want to like short comment on anything that anyone else said, you're welcome. You maybe raising your hands if you feel like it. Yes, Johan, want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to comment on Ilona's work with transparency. I think that's something very important we have to work on in and taking the responsibilities as politicians to be open with what we think and what we plan and what we believe. And also I think that's will build the trust for the political system for the gain of all of us. Thank you. So thank you for your work so far, Ilona, and please continue.
Are we in? Okay, Nana want to say something? Yes.
Ilona wanted to say something first. She raised her hand first. So take her
sorry,
first.
Maybe I missed it.
I was just going to comment and thank you. But yes, I think there's been a few, how do I say, investment cock-ups lately in Turku. And I think there's a mistrust in the political system right now. And that's why I think the transparency would be a key issue for, especially the building projects in Turku. So here, yeah, thank you.
Right. So yeah, it was me who did the facial expressions, because I kind of felt that the right side of the political spectrum here wasn't maybe totally in line with what actually has been done. The rhetoric and the actions were speaking a quite different language there. So, for example, taking care of money and doing wise investments, and whose money are we actually taking care of? This is a kind of key questions that actually definitely needs more transparency in general. But in general, even if I was the one making facial expressions, I like this, that we are more discussing like we are on in a way that we actually want to improve things together, even if we are from different parties. But of course, there are differences in our views. But I actually like this that we are very cooperative in this panel, to be honest.
Yeah, the spirit of cooperation is certainly great here. One thing that I feel like this was not planned, but because we have such a limited time, I would like to raise some questions, and it will be more like you can answer by yes or no, or very, very short answers. So because we had so many questions that we didn't answer, try to just think of like basically what you think in terms of just of yes or no, or a bit like 2 sentences about the question. So we will start with that there's a practice in Turku that the congestion of healthcare services, because of the congestion, that the healthcare services should be funded through vouchers instead of or vouchers for private healthcare. So do you think this practice should be continued, or instead public finances should be invested in increasing the capacities of the health services? And I remind you, short answers, and now we will just go according to the order that you're on the screen to make it quicker. So we'll start with Ville.
Well, I think this can be one short-term possibility, but I think in the long term, we need more money in public healthcare.
Great. We will go, Ilona.
Right. If you're sick, you need to go to the doctor. And if there are no doctors in the national healthcare system, you need to go to a private one. And that's simple as that. In the long term, yeah, it would be great if we had 200 more doctors and more staff members and whatnot. But right now the situation is what it is. Vouchers. Sick people go to the doctors. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Johan?
I think the public health care system in Finland and in Turku is really excellent. Am I the only one? I've been using both private services and the public, and I think the public is excellent. And it always needs more money, and we should give the healthcare system what it needs to develop and to be the best in the world. Thank you.
Yes, let's go with Janika.
Okay, so I think we need both public and private services, and I think a service voucher is a good model for this. It increases people's choice and also divides people to go to different places, so that the waiting lists are also shortened in public place when some people go to private. So I think it's a good system.
Sebastian?
I would say that keep it simple and go with the vouchers. And it's clear enough for all of us. You get a voucher, get something in exchange, and you don't have to explain much of it. But the health system needs some new ideas also, and not just money poured into it, but like really looking into these new information systems that can remove duplicate work from many places.
Is there who else didn't answer? I think some people. I think Erika didn't answer.
Erika didn't answer. Yes and yes. I agree much with what Ilona said. So I would like for the public healthcare system to be better funded, but as long as it isn't, people need to get care when they need care. So then we will use vouchers. I would add, though, that I think the quality control should still be at the responsibility of the municipality. I had one more thing in my mind, but I lost it. So leave it at that.
So Nana will be lost.
Yes, if it's between channeling the money to the private sector or channel it into the public sector, I'm for channeling it into the public sector. So if that's but of course, a temporary solution, I'm not impossible in that sense. A voucher to the private sector can be, but that doesn't, but if it's between channeling to the private sector or channel it to the public sector, I think tax money should be channeled to the public sector that serves the people.
Okay, great. We'll ask you now another quick question, which is a bit maybe will raise some controversy. Projects like the Logomo Bridge and the Experience Center in the railway yard, waste of money or necessary resources? And let's start randomly with someone, and that someone will be Janika.
Okay, so this is again a long question, and if I have to answer shortly, but yes, there have been some mistakes with Logomo Bridge or something, but it's those things that come up so loudly. We have to remember that there has been a lot of things that have gone well, and maybe people are not just talking that much about them. But yes, I support Turku to grow, and in order for that, we need to make investments, and the elämyskeskus that is going to be on a railway station is a good example of something that we are going to gather a lot of private money also. It's not expensive for Turku, but it will bring more money here because it will bring people and new jobs and everything like that. So yes, I support Turku to growth.
So next one will be Nana.
Yeah, I would like to hear more about like these actual promises that it will bring jobs and how that actually would happen. I'm for investment, like wise investments I'm actually for, and even public investments that are wise. This one is not one of them.
Ilona? You're muted.
The experience center, what you call it. I think it's 30 million, was it, that Turku is supposed to pay? Anyways, as a railway station bus stop hub, I guess that makes a little bit sense. An extra arena that we already have one in the middle of the field with huge parking. Where are people going to park? There's no parking in the city center. So I think that's a little bit of a far-fetched thing. Yeah, if it's all private money, like they promised, I think that would have been okay. But now there's a lot more extras coming in, and there's going to be a lot more extras, I reckon, you know. That's so not quite bought into that yet. Thank you.
Johan?
And they will take the train, Ilona, because that's why it's near the train station. I think Turku is the oldest and the boldest city in Finland, and it should remain that. We need bold investments in the city. And remember that, okay, it's not allowed to waste people's money and the taxpayers' money, but I think these new things that have been a lot debated are actually making Turku the boldest city in Finland. And I would like to see that, and perhaps even more of that.
Sebastian, you're next.
Thank you. Before this discussion, I had no opinion on this, and I was a bit unprepared, but I don't have a definite answer yet about whether, you know, I'm for it or against, but like I would say that if we can make something meaningful there, that, you know, so put some excited, you know, people doing things for people that, you know, really, you know, bring things to life. And, you know, I'm not against like well-doing people having a bit of fun and while doing things. So, and in, you know, nice places. So if that's what the city needs, then, you know, let jealousy work or whatever.
So last, Erika and Ville.
Yeah, so in order to keep growing and developing, we definitely do need to make investments. What those investments exactly are is the trickier question. Like both Nana and Ilona mentioned, the budgeting and the planning has to be done properly. I know in Tampere they've had this model where in these big projects where both the construction company and the city share the responsibility for staying on budget and on schedule. So I think that's something that we should definitely strive to use here in Turku as well. If we look at it from an economical perspective, I mean, one of the biggest issues for any company in Turku or any entrepreneur in Turku is finding the right talent. And to attract the right talent, we need to be an attractive city. And in being that, we're not only competing with the cities right next to us, or even not only Helsinki, it is a global competition. So we can't, I mean, if we want to compete, like Johan said, we have to be a bit bold as well.
Well, yeah, first totally about these previous projects and investments. Yeah, there clearly have been some problems with the building, but also with project management and decision making, and those need to be fixed with future projects. And I do agree with a lot that's been said here about that we need investments for growth and we need wise investments. I think that if with a comparatively small public investment, we get the promised big private investment, then I think it would be a good deal, an idea, but also it's important to make sure that the public investment stays as that has been promised.
Okay, great. Basically, now we are just we are having a dialogue whether to finish now or have one last question from the crowd. If people, yes. Okay, it seems that people are in a hurry. I would actually, I can send you the question. That these are questions that were, this is a question that was sent to me in advance, but it was sent to me by email. So if you want to answer this question, you are of course welcome to answer this email. And yes, but otherwise, I think that we almost reached 2 hours, which is more than I expected. And it kind of went forward because you are so all interesting speakers and you're so fluent. And it was personally, I have to say I enjoyed really much. It kind of got carried away, but I think we can finish here. If anyone has a last word, say now or forever hold your peace, as they say in churches.
I guess good luck to all of you.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks
Do your
for
best.
Good luck and enjoy the election.
you too. Thanks.
Good luck to all of us, I guess. And thank you, Ran, for arranging this panel. This was actually really fun, I have to say.
Yeah, this was.
It wasn't boring and it was really fun. Thank you.
I agree.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to all from me too also.
Thank you so much for all of you.
Yeah, thank you, Ran, for organizing, and thank you to all the other panelists. I really, this was my first panel with people from other parties as well, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere that we created here. Hopefully we get to do this again.
I certainly learned a lot from this panel about the future. Maybe I'll arrange these ones, and now I'm feeling much more savvy about how things should go. Yes. But thank you all, and really good luck for all of you in the elections. And I hope that people will vote. That's the most important thing.